Hello, hi, it is me, it is I. Small town DD or Hadinese over internet. Sakastraha, I'm back and walk with me. I am trying to get into the habit of talking to you guys when I'm on my walks in the morning. That way, maybe I can get more videos out to you. And yeah, some of you may be like, why is Rahadi not talking about what's happening in the political space on our continent and all of that stuff? It's not that I'm not plugged in, even though you guys know at some point I was plugged out on purpose. Um, I'm aware of what's happening, but sometimes I just want for things to unfold. And also sometimes I've been confused a little bit, but also I've been very sad. If I'm being honest, I spoke about this with my best friend yesterday that I would have a hard time coming on here and trying to act like it's all and start talking about the politics of it all, and trying to give, timelines and all of that stuff. This is not that video, by the way. There are plenty of people who do that style of content. It's important and it's out there. But that's not what I'm saddened about. I feel like, first of all, yes, black men are the weakest link, nah? This we know already. But I want to talk about just like the responses to essentially death that we have as African people and as South African people, how everything is this one fucking big joke. On TikTok, people are making reels about this. Black bodies are falling. Real life. Why the fuck you're saying that? They are falling by design. These are people's people, and it doesn't need to like get to that point where we say that's somebody's child. It speaks to how much they've won the mental game, because even we're desensitized to our own death as black people. Even we don't seem to like have the proper context of how final and permanent death is, how detrimental that could be to a family that was possibly looking at, one of the 13, if not all of them, that were deployed out there on the so-called, and I say so-called peacekeeping mission and whatever, and all of this, all of KZN. If we just gather KZN, we could take them out quickly and whatever. You guys, it's not the time to make jokes. It's the time to say like black lives actually do matter. This is what that is. Even you as a black man right now, and I say that in particular because they're the ones in charge, whoring us out, selling us out, every little piece of us to the powers that be for their own benefit. Them alone, not even trying to benefit the masses because they fucking short-sighted and stupid. Are we gonna talk? I tried to tell you guys, cupcake. I told you guys, that fucking little... That man is 3-day-old Keisha based. I said that to you guys in one video. None of you took me seriously. Cupcake. What are people peacekeeping with guns? The fuck even is that theory? Like that idea of peacekeeping when you know that they are there looking out for some other interests, keeping an eye, babysitting, right? Or spying, essentially. We know that's what's going on, but it always comes back to black men being the weakest link, them being the ones to always sell us out. Anytime in history, when you guys continue to keep black women, and I'm not saying all black women are, for the people, or that black women are not capable of doing these things, because we know they are. We've seen that they are. But it doesn't help that you guys continue to prop up and keep a particular group of people or sex of people in positions when you know how they socialize, when you know how weak they are, and you know how they reason. You know how selfish they are, and they only like look out for themselves and care for the advancement of themselves and their kids. These people have opportunities to broker better deals. The opportunities are there for them to actually work out deals that are going to benefit a larger group of people. They don't want that. Black men do not want that. Black men want to be king. They want to be the only bitches in charge, and that's how we end up here. And it doesn't matter in the squabble for resources who ends up winning, because there are no winners. Like in terms of black bodies being concerned, like in terms of like, which rebel group, the DRC, or Rwanda, or which tribe, there will be no winners in any of those camps. None whatsoever. just a bunch of losers, and the powers that be will be the victors. They will also decide what the narrative will be around this. Hello, Pottinger. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like, what are we do? What are we doing? After all of this time and all of these years, where in history it's come out time and time again that none of these things happen accidentally, right? All of this has been orchestrated because wars are sponsored, wars are sanctioned. They don't happen out of the blue for no reason. Oh my God, one morning they just woke up and decided that this is the day they're going to go. There's no such. There is no fucking such. What are you talking about? Do you understand? And that's why I've been like, what am I going to get to the internet and say? Talk about the official press statements and not talk about like the things that are bubbling under that we don't really have proof of. We can't really say anything around it because otherwise we sound like crazy conspiracy theorists. Do you understand what I'm trying to say though? But this goes back to who we decide as leadership. This goes back to the conversation where I say to you guys once more that Black men, the pursuit of like a united Africa, the pursuit of an African people, a liberated African people, that's not on the agenda for them. They're far too selfish. They just want to be a white man so fucking bad. You cannot look at what's happening right now. Or listen to saying this. Do you see penises? Penises all about the show, selling us bit by bit. They're whores in every sense of the word. If they're not on beaches, Mauritius beaches, selling their uncircumcised dick to wrinkly white women, then they're selling bits of our continent to all white men. Every chance they get, they're like, oh my God, how can I pimp these people out, including myself, because I do not value myself? I'm nothing. I'm nothing, and I'm going to make it other people's problem. These are the times that remind you that plugging out of politics, like I had to for my mentor for a while, like literal years. I had my own life to deal with, and I had to just deal with things on a micro level so I could function, right? The things of the world that I existed, yes, but the things of the world had become too overwhelming and like making me sad and depressed. But it brings back that plugging out or saying politics is not my thing is not one of our options. We don't have that option. That's a lie we tell ourselves, or thinking it doesn't affect your life, or it doesn't affect your life like that, or the, you know, this illusion that we as South Africans, which is rather embarrassing, we exist under with our very fragile, um, you know, orchestrated, kept together democracy for as long as it's beneficial for the right people, and that too could be toppled over the moment it presents an inconvenience, or they discover something we have and they want it for free or for next to nothing. um this like illusion, we are really a delulu bunch, that we live under, that we are just so stable and everything is going on here and we can afford to be plugged out of anything that's happening on our own continent because, you know, it doesn't affect us. That's there, up there in Africa. Bitch, you are in Africa. What the fuck? Like, you can't afford to plug out. You can't afford to not know what's going on, because it leads us to not to be in positions where we can't even hold our own leadership accountable. And outside of holding our leadership accountable, we also find ourselves in a position where we don't even know how to elect the right leadership. We don't know how to foster young people into positions of leadership that's actually going to usher the change that we say we want. And politics is a like tricky game like that. It's a nasty game because like it it attracts a certain kind of personality outside of gender, right? It doesn't necessarily attract a well-intentioned person. It does attract a power-hungry, attention-seeking, narcissistic type of personality. That's just really the crux of it. Somebody who just wants to be in power, wants to be praised, savior complexes galore over there. Very rarely do you get well-intentioned people in these spaces. And when you do, they don't survive. The beast is the beast. They don't survive. They get there, their well intentions, their personality, their temper, whatever is incompatible with the landscape, with the nature of the beast, essentially. And it eats them whole, or they got to get out, right? And then there's us who constantly, women as well, you guys, we have this thing where we've decided that, um, a man is capable. So we're continuing, even when we have better candidates in front of us or the opportunity to try out a different candidate. We will continue to choose like the heteronormative gent. Like we will choose the guy in the nice suit whom we know is lying, who's been lying to us for years, whom we know has interests of his own that, position him and only him and his family in a way that they continue to advance while the rest of us stay in these situations, crying, making TikToks, picking up rubble, wearing our grad gowns and things like that. We do that when we're presented with opportunities where we could diversify our leadership such that there's enough friction in there. We don't do that. We choose the same guy. We will elect the same black man to sit in there, and they're all buddies. They all think the same. That's why it's important to have diversity in these spaces. That's why it's important to take part in these things. We do not have the luxury of plugging out. But this here is capitalism. This here is the beast in not even in rare form, in its glory. If you've been wondering why we keep being so anti-capitalist and we speak the way we do about this thing, and I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, capitalism is just so great. This is dinner with Jay-Z. This is that capitalist Negro shit where we tell you that propelling one little black person is just you propelling your gatekeeper. It's you propelling your pimp, the person who's going to sell you out to the powers that be. They will prop up one little one of you whom they've identified. This one is the selfish one. This one is just like us. He's just like us. And if we put him here, they'll celebrate him. They'll be in awe of him. And we love to do that. We love to do it. We love to say, oh, at least one of us has made it. So it means, let's keep this one up there. Let's prop this one up there because it means that they are a beacon for us, right? We too can ascend. Bitch, no, you can't. No, you fucking can't, bitch. Like, why are you slow? Truly, why are you slow? This is dinner with Jay-Z, bitches. If you've been wondering what's going on here, this is exactly, oh my God, he's gonna spit game on us. The same Jay-Z who came out 2 years ago and was acting like he doesn't know what capitalism is. Do you guys remember that interview where he was just like, yeah, and then when we started getting on, they started wanting to use terms like, oh, it's capitalism, oh, is this, like it's a new word from 2013. Are we fucking serious? That's who Cyril is. If you're not catching on to what I'm saying, because I think I've made it very simple. But that is who African leadership is. That's what an African man is, a gatekeeper, a person who's only interested in the advancement of self at our expense. Explicitly, it's not by accident that black bodies, it's by design. They know it's going to happen, they feel nothing about it. Marikana happened and this man still became president. Because fuck a black body. Stop at so many points because some parts are louder than others and the sun is out and I gotta make my way back really quickly now. But the gist of it is that we're gonna get stuck in the cycle. We will be stuck in this loop because they won the fight they needed to win. And, hey guys, what other kids have been saying lately that there's this anti-intellectual kind of train on TikTok, right? If somebody sounds like, tsibinki, as we say, if somebody sounds like they well read, especially on a particular topic, especially young women, young feminist women, young black feminist women on these platforms, how every time they try to, when something comes out and they work at trying to make us understand the politics behind whatever the on the surface looks like nothing thing, the something simple like Zuki's "You Cannot Sit With Me" with your Afro babe. When the girls came out and they tried to explain how that's actually anti-black and all of this stuff, there's this need that's me just speaking on a more a micro level, if you would like. But there's this need lately to want to tell the well-read young black feminist to hush, right? Because people are uncomfortable about how little they know. They don't want to learn, or specifically, they don't want to learn through this vessel, right? Because that's not the idea you think about when you think teacher, when you think leader, when you think thought leader on top of that, because we would rather hear these types of conversations from a man. It's coming deeply from a misogynist point of view. It's not coming from any other thing. So when these things now happen, when we're finding ourselves in these conflicts and we don't even know, as a country in particular, as to what's happening on like the rest of our continent, or the fact that there's even a peacekeeping mission out there, or we know nothing. We know nothing. We're over here existing in our yanos, in our grom bubble, and it's fine. Those things are nice. They're necessary for life. We need them. You know, I'm not saying that it has to be one or another, or we might exist in these extremities, but we must begin to make this other stuff as cool as anything else, as celebrated as anything else, as much a fabric of our society, as second nature as our rhythm, right? As our love for the music, as our love for being creative, our participation in politics, or those of us who feel like I don't have an appetite for this thing, we must create room then for the people who are doing the work, the young black women who are doing the work, instead of telling them to hush all the time because we feel insecure about how much we don't read, how little we know, how little we want to participate, how much we lack critical analysis. Instead of just sitting and being like, oh my God, I never thought of it like that. I never knew that. That's new information. I didn't know all of that about our continent. I didn't know all of that about Palestine. This is interesting. Let me do a little read, or maybe let me listen to like a podcast or something. Instead of doing that, we would rather tell them to hush. They're fucking up the vibe and they're fucking up the mood. This is why we get to a point where when these things happen, we think it's time to bust out the memes. We think it's time for us to do the funny TikToks and things like that. Nah, guys. There's a time and place. Everything cannot be a joke. The death of us cannot be a joke. The idea that we're up for grabs and up for sale, guys, they haven't even changed their playbook, and I think that's what's sad. They've done nothing to reinvent their strategy because they don't have to. It works so well. It's so brilliant. Even when we see it coming, it still comes, and it still does what it's aimed to do. It destroys, it takes, it poses as coming to rebuild, all the while just like profiting at our expense. And we continue to be the weakest link, and we continue to put the people in leadership like who make us the weakest link. Nah, guys. Listen, we gotta plug back in, yo. I'm so sorry. I know. I also needed to plug out. We need to plug back in. Bye, you guys. I need to rush home. Like, I'm hot now.